Oh, what is that Oh, god damn it, dude. How many times have I told you if you want to share a stall with me, you can't just sell any old dead thing that you've pulled out of the sea? Especially not in this heat. Jeez. What even is that thing anyway? It looks like a whale's dick. Oh, look, it doesn't matter now. I've got customers. Greetings, travellers, and welcome to the bustling market town of Anbar. I'm Eurogamer's Ian Higton, and if you're looking for Assassin's Creed Mirage info, well, you, my friends, have come to the right stall. You can get whale penis next door, though, if that's what you're really after. Oh, you're still here. Okay, well, in that case, I've got some good news for you, because I played around 3 hours worth of Assassin's Creed Mirage, and I'm allowed to share 20 minutes worth of brand new gameplay with you, plus all of my first impressions. So feel free to take a browse around my wares as I tell you 11 things that you need to know about Assassin's Creed Mirage. Just, maybe hold your nose or something, okay? Let's get the most important thing out of the way first. I know what the internet's #1 search term is, and so, when I couldn't find a bunch of Overwatch porn in Assassin's Creed Mirage, I went looking for the next best thing. Cats! And it is my absolute pleasure to be able to confirm to you that you can indeed pet cats in Assassin's Creed Mirage. Look, see, that's Basim there, petting a cat. Oh, so adorable. Now, what's interesting about this is that you could also pet cats in Assassin's Creed Oranges and Assassin's Creed Valhalla too, but in Mirage, it looks like Ubisoft has just recycled the same animation it used in Valhalla. But honestly, I don't mind the copy and pasting at all, because, we get to see scenes like this.
Are you fascinated by the motions of the planets? Drawn to the music of the spheres? What? I'll feed you your spleen. Hold on.
Right, now that the main bit is out of the way, let's quickly cover the background of the game, because the way Mirage came into being is quite interesting. The main bulk of the game has been developed by Ubisoft Bordeaux, a relatively small studio, in Ubisoft terms, that worked on the popular Wrath of the Druids DLC for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which was released in 2021. Mirage is the first lead project for the studio, which at only 8 years old is fairly new in the grand scheme of things, and during its inception phase, Mirage was initially planned to be a downloadable expansion for Valhalla. This quickly changed though, and once the lead had been swapped from Valhalla's Ivor to Basim ibn Ishaq, a character who was initially introduced in Valhalla, the standalone game Assassin's Creed Mirage was born. Basim was really the starting point for the direction of this new instalment though, and his starring role allowed the developers at Bordeaux to decide on Baghdad as the location for the game, which, considering both were set around the same time, is a very different setting to that of Valhalla's England. Baghdad really is the perfect setting for the vision of Mirage, as the game's developers are aiming to bring back the roots of the franchise by essentially creating an homage to the first game. And after playing it myself, I can say that the team has done a great job of doing just that. There's a return to stealth and scouting, which really recreated that feeling of classic Assassin's Creed gameplay, especially now that social blending is back as well, and thanks to the tightly packed, busy streets of Baghdad's round city and its surrounding towns, parkour is once again at the forefront of the action when it comes to avoiding combat and just generally getting from place to place, although there is the option to fast travel to previously synchronized viewpoints if you're feeling lazy. The round city itself is incredibly impressive as well, and it's not like the classic desert city that you might be imagining. There's canals in there, there's loads of greenery, and it's split into multiple districts with buildings and architecture that are immediately reminiscent of the first game. The round city is so called because it is encircled by a gigantic round wall, which has 4 different gates that Basim can use to gain entry to it. Each gate leads to a different outer district that surrounds the round city, and these include Kark, a market town that marks the midway point of the Silk Road, so is full of big crowds and traders. There's Haraya, a district that's dedicated to workers and industry, so you'll find things like fabric dyeing factories and brick factories there that are full of workers and slaves, and there's even a prison and a grand mosque there too. Finally, there's also Abyssinia, an area that holds the House of Wisdom, so it's full of scholars who practice things like maths and philosophy.
Gently now.
What I liked a lot about the game though was that sections of it also made time for fans of the more modern, open games like Valhalla and Oranges 2. Fans who may not have played the original games before. At the start of the game, Basim is a simple thief, doing odd jobs for the Hidden Ones in the small town of Anbar, which lies to the north of the round city. It's the perfect training ground to learn the ropes before you head into the big city, as it's once again full of parkour opportunities and bustling crowds to lose your pursuers in. Between Anbar and the round city, however, and in fact almost encircling the round city on the map, are areas called the Wilderness, which are wider, more open areas that give you a vibe that's much closer to that of Valhalla. While these areas can be a nice refresher from your time running around the confines of a city, because Mirage is a way more narrative-driven experience than Valhalla, you'll only really need to head to these areas if you're driven there by your investigations. I didn't actually get to experience any of the missions or contracts that would have led me out into the wilderness, but from what I can gather, they'll almost serve as a bridge between different gameplay types. The wilderness will give you Valhalla vibes, while the cities will give you classic AC nostalgia. So basically, whatever era of Assassin's Creed you like the most, you're basically going to get a little bit of the best of both worlds here. Unless your favourite game is Assassin's Creed Black Flag, that is. I'm pretty sure there isn't any ship sailing in this one.
This must be Kong's crate of tea leaves.
There's one area in Mirage that doesn't feature on the main map at all though, and that is the Fortress of Alamut, which I also got to visit in my hands-on demo.
Alamut Fortress takes my breath away. As if it leaped out of the hikayat I heard when I was a child.
For those of you unfamiliar with it, Alamut Castle was a stronghold for the Hidden Ones, aka the Assassins, that was located in Persia, and in Mirage you can visit the fortress as it is being constructed, in order for Basim to learn the ways of the Hidden Ones. This means you get to experience combat training, rock climbing training, throwing knife training, and you even get to witness one of Basim's first attempts at a leap of faith.
Steady, Basim. Steady.
Leave! No! I've seen enough. We will try again tomorrow. Are you going to live in that haystack, Basim?
I felt fine.
I can see it in your body. You lose focus too easily.
It's an interesting area that will immediately resonate with hardcore fans of Assassin's Creed lore, as not only is it a legendary location that's been mentioned in multiple games and books, but it's also stuffed full of Easter eggs for all you lore lovers to hoover up and say, "Oh, I understood that reference." As an area of the game, this one did feel like the most linear of all the places that I visited, and it definitely felt like a tutorial town with a very slow pace and lots of dialogue. But nevertheless, I feel like mega fans are going to be thrilled that they can visit this iconic location, especially when you factor in the buckets of lore to be found and the fact that they'll also be witnessing Basim's journey from petty thief to full-on Hidden One.
Assalamu alaikum, Basim.
Left. not thief! Help! Guard!
It wasn't until the third portion of my gameplay demo that I finally got to enter the Round City and catch a glimpse of the game's full potential, along with a host of new and returning gameplay changes. I'll cover the investigations and side missions in a bit more detail in a bit, but for now, here's a few of the smaller features I experienced as I made my way around town. As I mentioned above, social blending is back, which is an excellent way of losing pursuers and reducing your notoriety level. This notoriety system is new for Mirage, and it basically gives you a progressive retaliation from NPCs. So if you've been caught doing something dodgy, like, say, failing a pickpocketing minigame, which is basically a one-button press QuickTime event, NPCs will run and alert guards. This will not only mean that the guards will start searching for you, but it will also make friendly NPCs more wary of you, especially if your notoriety level is really high. And if it is, they will alert more guards to your position if they're suitably agitated. To avoid the guards, I was told you can do things like bribe musicians to create distractions, which is something I didn't witness myself, but what I did do is end up having to fight guards, which in Mirage should really come as a last resort.
I will not fail! I'll succeed! Tricks won't save you! Weakling!
Due to the game's emphasis on stealth, fighting multiple opponents is especially risky, and even though Basim has some pretty cool moves under his belt, avoiding combat altogether is your best chance for survival here. On the subject of cool moves though, there is a brand new ability in the game called Assassin's Focus, which allows you to mark multiple targets and kill them in the blink of an eye, which is perfect for clearing out rooms that hold multiple foes without them calling for backup. Assassin's Focus is one of many skills that feature in Mirage's linear progression trees, which you can rank up and unlock using skill points that you'll earn as you play. I'm not allowed to show you any more of the skill point menu than what you can see here, but the 3 trees available allow you to upgrade your Eagle and Kidu, your tools like noisemakers, smoke bombs, blow darts and throwing knives, and your combat skills, which include the aforementioned Assassin's Focus. Once I got to the Round City, it quickly became clear that the main core of the gameplay revolved around something called investigations, which make up the backbone of Mirage's story. By opening a menu called the Investigation Board, you'll be presented with something that looks fairly similar to one of those corkboard things that you see in detective movies, where individual clues and suspects are linked together by threads. By consulting this board, you'll be able to track objectives and in turn hunt down clues that will ultimately unlock a black box mission, which are missions with a main assassination target who you'll need to track down and kill. In my hands-on session, these investigations had me chasing stolen tea leaves for a trader named Kong, which then put me on the trail of a stolen hairpin artifact. After a great deal of sneaking around and stabbing people in the back of the head, I then discovered that this hairpin was due to be auctioned off at a bazaar later in the day, and once I reached that bazaar, I was then tasked with gathering intel that would eventually lead me to the location and the identity of the black box target. I won't go into much more detail on that due to spoilers, but the things I had to do to find the target included eavesdropping, bribing, basic platforming puzzles that involved moving things and blowing things up, and of course, a fair amount of murder too. And you know what? It felt really good to do. I enjoyed being some kind of Batman-style assassin in a smaller, more contained area, much more than I did wandering around in the bigger, open areas of later AC games, and it really did capture that nostalgic feeling of hunting for targets from the rooftops in the first Assassin's Creed game from back in the day. The pace of the gameplay may be a bit slow for some, and despite the illusion of choice, this section did feel a lot more linear than other parts of the game. But still, I was a fan, and the whole sequence had a satisfying conclusion.
You will break your neck! You are going to get caught!
I didn't get to do a huge amount of side content during the hands-on, as I had specific missions to follow, but I can confirm that there is plenty to do around the Ring City if you want a break from following the main storyline.
That child looks like he has gotten himself into a tricky situation.
Sometimes opportunities will appear as you explore, like here when I was wandering around and overheard some children talking. The next thing I knew, I was up a tower trying to convince a young boy to throw himself off of it, which sounds kind of bad out of context, but there was a hay bale below for him to land on, so that makes it fine, okay? Police? Aside from those kind of events, there are also tons of icons on the map screen which will direct you to merchants such as blacksmiths who will improve your weapon stats and allow you to change your appearance, stables where you can change the appearances of your mount and your eagle, tailors who can improve the perk bonuses for your outfits, traders who will refill your tools and sell you items, Menadi, who will cancel your notoriety in exchange for something called a power token, merchant groups you can blend in with to move unseen, and historical sites that you can visit to get more detail on the locations of the game. Oh, and of course, there is a bunch of collectible artifacts dotted around too.
Make sure you target and circle around me. Never turn your back on your opponent.
So now we know that Mirage is a much more contained, linear experience than, say, Valhalla or Oranges. But exactly how long is the game going to be? Well, compared to Valhalla, it's safe to say that it will be a lot shorter. But that's because Valhalla was an RPG, whereas Mirage is way more focused on the simple fantasy of being an assassin. This means that, while Mirage may not be as long, it does feel like a more dense experience, with a focus on telling a story that is less diluted than in previous games. But what about actual numbers, for all you people who love actual numbers? Well, according to Ubisoft, Mirage will take you about 20 hours to complete if you mainline the main story stuff, and then up to 30 if you do all of the side content as well. So it's still a pretty meaty experience overall.
I will talk to the Khalifa, see what we can do.
You asked me once about this memory. I lied. I told you it was lost. I worried the wrong lesson would be learned.
And finally, for those of you wondering if Mirage will move on the modern-day story at all, I can tell you that, with the exception of a couple of quick intros that give you a bit of context about why you're in the Animus in the first place, the main focus of the game will be Basim's experience in Baghdad. So the modern stuff is really going to take a back seat in this game. And that's your lot, my friends. It's nearly 5 PM now, so I'm about to pack up and head off down the pub because, you know, Anbar's not going to drink itself dry on its own now, is it? Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this look at Assassin's Creed Mirage. As a fan of the older games more than the newer ones, I'm actually really happy with this return to some classic Assassin's action. But what about you? Are you excited to go to Baghdad, or will you miss the RPG-ness of games like Valhalla? Let me know in the comments below, and do like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Goodbye. Oh, I see you've still not sold your penis thing then. What are you going to do with it if you don't sell it? It's already getting a bit smelly, but kind of seems like a waste just to throw it away. Tell you what, I'll take it off your hands if no one else wants it, because I'm kind of curious as to how it tastes. So, you know, I'll be down for a little bit of a curiosity nibble if you are. You know, share it and everything. No? Come on. Not even a little, just a little bit off the tip. Looks pretty girthy.